Hi everyone, this is Mr. Robotic Warfare, and welcome back to episode 2 of Auto Terra Firmacraft. So at the end of the last episode, we were waiting on our charcoal pit to finish, and it finally has. So I'm going to go ahead and start by digging up all of this nice charcoal that we just made. Now unfortunately it's not a one-to-one between the amount of logs that we put in and the amount of charcoal that we get back, but this is certainly a good enough yield. The correct tool to actually dig up the charcoal piles here is a shovel. Unfortunately my shovel just broke, so I'm going to have to use my fist to pick up the rest of the stuff, but thankfully it breaks pretty quickly. That's not going to take too long. But yeah, all said and told, we got 47 charcoal out of that, which is a pretty substantial amount for starting out. It's definitely going to get us through our first few smelting operations, but we're definitely going to need to make more charcoal in the future. But yeah, now that we've got some charcoal, we'll use that moving forward. But the main thing right now is we are waiting. We've got those 2 molds right there in the bottom row of the inventory to get ready to pour that copper. We just need to wait till it heats up. So we got 5 minutes, and I'll be back when the pit kiln is finished. All right, here we are. Going to grab a quick bite to eat, but the pit kiln is going to be finishing up in just a couple of seconds here. And we're going to get our molds at the ready. So we are ready to pour the metal as soon as we get it. So here we go. Grab the vessel. We can see the copper is melted down. It's in a liquid state, yellow-white. You can see on the right there it says molten. We're going to make sure that we get a full 100 millibuckets in there before taking it out, because that corresponds to a full cast. You can see the, up to 80, 90, 100 out of 100. And there we go. Our vessel is now empty. We've poured all of the copper out, and we've also made a pan. Now, unfortunately, I thought this was going to be a pan that you could put on the fireplace, but I made the wrong kind of pan. This is actually a pan that's used to do prospecting in river gravel and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and set that down for now. Not super important, but we've also got our jugs out of this. So I want to go ahead and run down to the little source of water here and just fill them up and store them away for later, because now that we have a pickaxe, we're going to have to start doing some mining. But I'm going to go ahead and cool off these molds here as well, and we'll pick them back up and turn them into some tools. Also going to grab a quick drink while I'm here. Cool, the molds have finished up. Let's go ahead and turn them into some tools. Thankfully, all it takes to do that is you just shift-click on the molds. You break the tools out of the molds once they're solid. You just add a stick, and there we go. We have got our first metallic tool in the game. We make a pickaxe as well as a saw, because as I mentioned last episode, we can't actually get a crafting bench until we have a saw, and now we have one. So I'm going to run right over here to this tree, take it down, because we used all our wood in that charcoal pit, and we're going to go ahead and use our saw to make this crafting bench. I'll also mention briefly, I said it in a comment in the last episode, but I am experiencing a little bit of stutter step lag, so hopefully that should be fixed here in the next couple of episodes. You can also see that on the side there, while I was waiting for the charcoal pit to finish, I made this thing called a large vessel, which is kind of like a chest, but not really. It's another thing that you fire from clay, but we go ahead and make some of those to store food and other things just for the moment. But we finally got our planks. These this lumber can then be used to craft the planks, just in a normal 4x4, and then it's these planks that finally get us our crafting bench. So we're going to go ahead and stick this down way away from the fire, because the fire from these different pits actually spreads pretty far. We want to make sure we don't burn down our first crafting bench. The other thing I can do is I can start making some ladders, because it is time to find this copper vein that we've been standing on. I only found enough copper to make 2 tools, and I'm definitely going to need more than that. So it's going to be time to start trying to find this copper, because we have a pickaxe and now we can actually mine it. So I decided not to make a prospector's pick. I only made a copper pick and a copper saw, which means that I'm not actually able to directly find this ore. So I really just have to know I've been in this generic area. I'm going to go ahead and try and find this just by digging poke holes down and hoping to hit the vein. Now, unlike in vanilla Minecraft, these veins are actually very big, but that doesn't make them not hard to find. They are still kind of challenging to find without a prospector's pick. So I'm going to dig a poke hole here, see if I can find anything. Couldn't find anything in that one. We're going to do another one right here in the clay pit. Hopefully this is a little bit more central. Basically, I'm trying to remember where the different little pieces of ore were on the surface and kind of find the rough centroid of where they were at. And you can see I made some ladders here with the wood. Definitely needed that to get the saw. Or definitely needed the saw to get these. As you can see, I'm going down here. And I think we've hit a cave, but oh geez, that's the feet of a creeper. I have none of the things that are necessary to deal with him right now, so I am just going to run away and find a different hole to dig in. Yeah, we're going to leave him down here. Let's try another one kind of up on the hill here. One of the things that I'm starting to do is digging 2 wide down instead of 1 wide down. In Terra Firma Craft, most times you can get away with digging straight down, but we all know that that's kind of a general rule that you tend not to want to do. But we've also gone ahead and hit stone here. We're going to dig down a little bit more and see if we can find anything. We are all the way down at Y55, but these ores can go, further down, maybe even closer to Y40. Pop my head back out of the hole. Haven't been able to find anything, even though I've dug a whole ton of poke holes. So I'm just going to quickly organize my inventory here, and we're going to go use this charcoal that we just made and put it to good use. So I'm going to go ahead and set this pan down here because I'm not really using it at the moment. But I'm going to go ahead and dig out kind of a star shape here. And I'm going to line all of these blocks with the cobblestone that I just made. Because what I'm trying to do right now is build a charcoal forge. And the charcoal forge requires some kind of stone on 5 of the 6 faces and a direct skylight access above it. So we can go ahead and take some of that charcoal we just made, stack it up to 8. I think 7 also works. Then we can go ahead, hit it with the fire starter, and bam, we got our charcoal forge. Unfortunately, our fire starter just broke, but we have a little bit of residual heat, which is going to let me bake up some torches. You saw that I found that cave where that creeper was standing. Some of the other poke holes I dug also led into that cave. It's pretty big, so I want to make sure that I can light it all up and explore it a little bit to hopefully see this copper vein that we're looking for, because we know it's somewhere beneath us, but we're not exactly sure where. So I'm going to go ahead and run to another spot, kind of in a different place. That poke hole was one that I made. Didn't really work out, so we're going to go ahead and try and start working on another one here, just to try and find this copper. Like I said, normally you would have a prospector's pick to do this, but right now I didn't have enough copper, so I'm just kind of relying on blind luck. Here you can see that cave I found. I had a couple of torches to light it up, and now that we've got it all lit up, we're going to go ahead and do some more digging, hopefully to see if we can't find this copper. So I'm guessing that the clay hole is going to be our good spot, because we kind of dug that hole in the center of where all the different ore pieces were. So I'm really gambling on this one, digging a little bit more down, and there we go. We have found the copper vein. So we're going to go ahead and dig the rest of the way down to try and get to this guy. But we have done it. We've found the copper, and we can start mining it in a little bit here. First, we got to make sure to do the little celebratory dance. We got our first vein of ore, and we're going to go ahead and get to work on this. So we're going to extend the ladders all the way down, and now we have the tricky job of trying to actually support our mining operations while we're digging. You can see that I've got some of those posts on me in my hotbar there. Got a stack of 32 of them. Those are called supports. And as I described earlier, pretty much all of the blocks in this game have gravity, especially when you're mining underground. So what you see here is I'm mining out a little bit of a spot so that I can put an arch of these supports. And it's kind of like you would see in like a real life mine. I need to support my mining operation, otherwise the rocks are going to cave in on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up these supports, and the vertical ones are basically just for show. But the horizontal one that I'm actually going to place in the center of these two is the thing that actually supports it. So this horizontal beam right there supports a 9 by 5 by 9 area of rock centered on that block right there that I'm looking at. So what that means is that I can kind of dig freely with the understanding that things are not going to cave in. But I'm just going to go ahead and start going to work on this copper vein. You can see that I found another little hole here as I was going through this copper vein. Already got a ton. It's looking pretty big, but this cave is going to be interesting. I hear a lot of monster noises, so I need to be very careful. But this cave means that I've got some more exposed copper that I can work on, and it's starting to look like this vein might be a pretty decent size. So I'm going to keep digging around here, and oh my goodness, look at that. This place keeps going. I can't see any mobs, but look at all this copper. Like I was saying, the TFC veins are pretty big. They vary in size, but definitely we've got a lot of ore in this one to work with. So I'm going to just keep going here, and oh, there's a zombie. My axe is basically my best weapon right now. I'm going to work on this guy a little bit. Hopefully we can get him down with, I don't know, what did that take, 6 hits? Something like that. But you can see this copper vein just keeps going. It's wild. I'm going to take a quick jog down here and see just how far this goes. I'm running out of torches here. I have only 2 left. But you can see we kind of hit the end of the vein, but there's more baddies down that way. And I'm going to try and block this up so that I don't get ambushed while I'm trying to mine my copper here. But as you can see, you can't just place cobble down. It's got gravity. So if it's not supported basically on 3 sides, it's going to fall down. And right now I'm just basically spamming cobble to try and fill up this hole so that no bad guys can come out. So we'll just mark it with the torch. Here there be monsters, and head back up, and you can see the full size of this copper vein. This thing is massive. All of those blocks with that texture on it, those are all different kinds of copper. You can see the one I was looking at right there is called rich copper. Copper comes in 3 varieties: rich, normal, and poor, which just is a varying amount of metal that it actually gives. But we have run out of torches, we've almost run out of ladders, almost run out of supports. We're running kind of low. The clay hole did end up being the right one, so good for us for that. But we've got enough copper to really start talking about making our first real set of tools. I'm going to go ahead and mark this right here on the map. I'm going to also remove the old copper waypoint that we had earlier, which we made next to the 2 ones last episode. Instead of removing it, I'm actually just going to edit it and kind of shift it over. You can see at the bottom there that says my current location, so I'm just going to manually type in the different modifications to this waypoint so that we can find the copper later. Like I said, that thing is huge. We're going to use this vein for quite some time, but for the time being, we're just going to mark it and then probably start going towards home and making a few new tools. I was hovering over that old base thing. This is what I alluded to in the last episode in the intro video. That's where our old base, collaborative base with Mango and Methods was, but we have gone off and done our own thing. So we've got our charcoal forge. We're going to go ahead and seal up our vessel, which we can actually break, and it'll keep the inventory. You can see here. It keeps everything in it. These vessels are really useful because it's going to let us preserve food for longer. So whenever you put food inside a vessel and seal it, it actually stays good for a little bit longer. But we're going to go ahead and grab some sticks, because what I'd like to do is make a whole bunch of shovels here and just kind of roughly mark the path that I took from the river to getting down this way. You can also see that I'm exhausted there. I had that stomach status effect in my inventory. That's because I'm carrying that sealed vessel that I picked up earlier with all that stuff in it. In Terra Firma Craft, you actually have the concept of size and weight, which means that something like a vessel is very large and heavy, which means that I kind of get slowed down. And if I accidentally pick up 2 of those things at any given time or try to transport them, I get very, very slow and it's hard to move. But you can see we've hit the river back here. I left a little trail for myself with those path blocks, really burned through those shovels. But thankfully, the fact that I'm exhausted is not really going to matter here. We can just hop on our boat, and this is a wonderful little tributary that runs all the way from that forested area straight back to our base. So thankfully, we're also working with the current here, but we're going to speed the footage up a little bit, and we're going to head back to our little dock area that we've been using. That's kind of near to our base here, but we're going to go ahead and slide into that. Here we go. Found it. And there we go. That is our successful trip to find copper. We've got our first couple of tools here. Obviously still going to be using stone for the foreseeable future. But now that we've got a little bit of copper to our name, we can start working on forging and doing various metalworking tasks. I'm going to grab a quick drink as well, because when you have that status debuff about carrying heavy things, your water and food also deplete much, much faster. We're going to wander over to this area where we did our first 2 pit kilns. We've kind of marked that as home. But now that I've got a crafting table and stuff, I want to clear out a little bit of a nicer area. Looks like we've got a nice flat zone here, so I'm going to go ahead and punch out all these little pieces of grass. Continue doing so, and look at that. We've got a nice little clean area there. I'm going to choose a nice center-looking point, pop down the crafting table. Also going to get this vessel out of my inventory so I'm not weighed down anymore. I can just stick that right on the top there. We're going to grab the rest of the lumber that we've got, make some chests, and with that, I would say we have something that is resembling a base, which is nice. You can see here you can actually place the chests down individually, but I can also just place it down normally to make it connect. On the left, we're going to put all of our rocks and ores and dirt and that kind of stuff, and on the right, we're going to fill all of that up with our agriculture, which we have in these vessels right now. I would like to use the vessels for other things, so instead of just storing them directly, I'm going to change my mind here and take everything out. Now, important to note, you cannot store food in chests indefinitely because it will not be preserved, and there are actually rats in the game. So leaving food in chests will attract rats, which are actual little critters, and they will come and open up your chests and steal your food. So we really want to make some more of these larger vessels, but I'm going to just continue grabbing the stuff out of the vessels here. You can see we've got a nice full agriculture chest. In fact, I'm even down one slot, so I'm just going to grab these potatoes here and use those to fill up my health. Where did they go? Need something to put these away. Yeah, there they are. Going to go ahead and use those to fill my hunger bar back up. But I think we're definitely going to want more than 2 double chests here at some point. But for the time being, we've got a nice set of vessels here. And the very last thing that we're missing basically right now is a bed. Now, unfortunately, making an actual proper vanilla bed is kind of out of our reach because we don't have enough wool. But what we would like to do is we would like to make a thatch bed. And a thatch bed you can't sleep in, you can't pass the night, but it is enough to set your spawn point. So we're going to go ahead and make a little bit more lumber here because we would also like to store all of these wonderful tools. Tools cannot go in chests, but they can be hung on tool racks. And we're going to go ahead and hang up our saw there and our pickaxe just for the time being, but I think this is enough to call home. Going to go ahead and make a waypoint here just so that we can find our way back here. Even though we've got the pit kilns nice and nearby, this is going to be a good indicator as well of where to come back to. So now I would really like to make that thatch bed to officialize our new settling location. And for that, I'm going to need some thatch, which just comes from straw, like you saw me get earlier. But I'm also going to need a large hide. So I need to go out and search for an animal that drops a large hide. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple more pit kilns started here. Grabbed a whole bunch of straw. Going to grab my clay as well. I'm going to make some more of these large vessels. And here's the napping pattern for those, kind of just a big U shape with the clay. The unfortunate thing is that I made 4 holes because these large vessels take up an entire pit kiln by themselves. So we can't put all 4 of them in one, like the ingot molds or anything like that. We have to do each of them in their own individual pit kiln, which is going to be a little bit expensive, but plenty of straw and plenty of wood around, so we're not really constrained on that. I don't necessarily need to be sealing the vessel, but it's just a good habit to get in practice of. So we're going to go ahead and plop these down. You can see it goes right into the center. It takes the whole block up. So we're going to go ahead, set all of these down in their pit kilns, grab the straw, and place that on top of everything. Like I was doing last episode, you need 8 straw and 8 logs to successfully start a pit kiln. So we're just sticking down the straw here. Going to do the same thing with the logs that we collected. I collected basically just enough to do these before we go out searching for an animal. But I'm also out of sticks now, so I need to make another fire starter. Unfortunately, my other fire starter broke. I'm going to go ahead and make a little storage container for the rest of our wood, but I really don't want to saw down all those wonderful planks that I just got, so I need to go find some sticks to grab off the ground just to make another fire starter here. I don't see any. Surely there are some around somewhere. Oh, here we go. 2 right here. Perfect. Go ahead and pick these up and just craft them in a diagonal line. We've got our fire starter. There we go. And we can just head back to our little pit kiln area and get those lit up. So to light a pit kiln, you just need to make sure that you have this right stuff down. You just shift right click. It's kind of like drawing back a bow in the animation there, but we can just get all 4 of these lit up. And we can embark on a journey to try and find an animal that drops a large hide. So like I was saying, we want to make this thatch bed to set our spawn point. You need to basically make 2 blocks of thatch and lay a large hide over it. And like I said, you can't sleep through the night, but we want to get our spawn point set at home here, so in case we die, we don't go all the way back to spawn, which would be very inconvenient. So clearing the inventory out, and here we go. Wandering around kind of north of the base here, and look at that. I see an animal over there. That is a musk ox. And these oxen are considered big animals. You can see that one's got a size of 4 for the musk ox. That's big enough. And this guy is going to drop us a little bit of wool and our large raw hide. Now, like I was saying earlier, the hides can be used to make leather. The different sizes of hides give different yields of leather. But for right now, I really want to make sure that I just get these large hides so that I can make my bed. So obviously, eventually, I'm going to be trying to grab some of these animals back so that I can do some animal husbandry, do some breeding, do some shearing, especially because we're going to need a lot of wool to start out with. So I'm not going to abuse these sheep any further. But you can see here, we have a pretty nice area here. We've got a lot of forest. My base is kind of in the bottom center there, but look at this big river here. You can see that darker blue area actually indicates a tributary, which means that this actually runs all the way to the ocean. So if we were to just continue following this river against the current, we would actually find our ocean. There's a little isthmus there. It would be nice if that connected to this whole lake region over here. We might eventually bust that out, but you can see in the bottom right there, that's where we got our copper. But we found our hide, so we're just going to hop back in the river and head back home. Here's our little docking area that we had last time. And we have successfully returned with our large hide, so we can go ahead and finish things off by running back to the base here. Not running particularly quickly because different blocks like mud and grass actually slow down your movement a little bit. But we can still make pretty good progress here. We will get ourselves a horse eventually. And one of our pit kilns finished, which means the other ones are close on their way. There we go. Got our nice 4 new large vessels that we can put all of our food in. Got a little bit of straw there saved up. I don't want to use that stuff directly, so you know what? I'll just grab a little bit more here. Just because there's so much grass around, use it as an opportunity to clear things out a little bit more. But you just take 4 straw in your little crafting grid, and you can turn it into a nice little 2x2, and that will get you a block of thatch. So let's go ahead and do that. We only need 2, but I think we're just going to go ahead and make all of them, because that can be useful as well. I don't really do much for wattle and daub, but here we go. 2 pieces of thatch, lay the large hide across it, and we can click on the bed, and it says, too uncomfortable to sleep in, but our spawn point was set. And you know what? That's enough for me. So, ending this episode with a completed base for now. And next episode, we'll start getting into some more metal stuff. So thank you very much for watching.